Welcome to segment 2 of the HR Kyle podcast. I'm your host, Kyle. In this part of the show, we have a special treat for you as we sit down with Brian to explore his extraordinary career journey. He's taken a path less traveled, and we're going to dive deep into his experiences and the valuable lessons he's learned along the way. So get ready for an inspiring and enlightening conversation. Let's jump right into it. So Brian is our guest today. Brian spent many years in the work world, building up his profession in the field of nursing. But most recently, he transitioned to the world of academia. And I really think our guests are going to benefit from talking to Brian. So Brian, welcome to
Thank you, Kyle. It's a really great honor to be here on your podcast. I appreciate it for not only myself, but for my students. And you're right, I did not take the traditional path that most people follow. I want to give you a little background. In my mid-20s, I decided to go into another profession. And I recall reading about the nursing shortage that was only going to get worse. I remember reading this about 1985, that by the year 2000, the nursing shortage was going to be severe. So I was looking at job security. I did take some risks. I decided, even though there was very few men in the nursing profession in 1985, that I was going to go into the nursing profession. And I also thought it was very appealing that I would have a career where I was helping people. Now, in my career, I've done just about everything that a nursing professional can go through. I did become proficient in things like medication, IV therapy, supervision, even mentoring other young nurses. But where I've gained the most satisfaction is in teaching nursing students. Planting those seeds of knowledge is one way I can give back to my profession. And also, I've dedicated the last several years of my life to improving my profession. For example, I've worked for 25 years for the National Council of Licensure Examinations. We all know it as NCLEX. And I traveled all over the country, really, writing exam questions, reviewing potential exam questions, things like that. As most of you know, all nurses must pass their state boards or the NCLEX to become a nurse. And I wanted to be a part of this process, gain knowledge, and give back to my profession.
Brian, that's a wonderful intro, but you actually sell yourself a little short. You spent 35 years in nursing as a registered nurse, but you made a decision later in your career. In fact, when most people are transitioning to retirement, you really opened a new chapter of your life and your career at that point. Can you tell us?
Yes, it's an epic
more about that?
Saga, really, Kyle. My story's a little different than most people. Yes, I worked in various hospital situations. I worked in ICU, med-surg, and hospice. So anyone out there who's dealt with death and dying and hospice patients, it really takes its toll. I did become pretty well-rounded. I became skilled at what I did, and I really worked hard to attain skills. That's one thing I want to get out there for nursing students as well as anyone in any profession that you're going after. I encourage you to gain as many skills as you can. That old saying, it's the skills that pay the bills, really does ring true. So, 2016, I transitioned from hospital and home care to education. I found that teaching nursing students was the most rewarding job I've ever had. It was very fulfilling, but I knew I needed more than a bachelor's degree in nursing. I needed a master's degree to teach advanced practice nurses. So when I started toward this advanced degree, I really took some risks. I was in my mid-50s and getting up there where most people were thinking about retiring. But I took a lot of more risks than even I realized, I think, at the time. I really had no money. I did not have a full-time job. I had no real support except from some family members. And I had to work 2 years every day to attain a master's degree in nursing. And I also went for an emphasis on education. So it was important for me at my advanced age, late 50s to stay positive, keep my focus. I did things like I bought a wind-up timer, for example, at a garage sale. I would set it up for 1 hour at a time, and I would work without interruption in the quiet of my basement for that hour. The alarm would go off, and I'd stop for about 15 minutes, visit my family. They seemed like nice people, eat something, and go back to work. And sometimes I would work till 2, 3 in the morning. I did it every day, and I stayed as positive as I could. So I thought getting the master's degree would be the end of my journey. But something in me was still looking for something else, and I really can't explain it. It's almost on a spiritual realm, but I knew I had to keep going. I decided to continue for my doctorate. I worked full-time going after my doctorate. It took another 2 years. I graduated with a 3.87 average. So, when I hear young people in particular say it's too difficult or there's too many obstacles. Well, I completed a master's degree at 60 and a doctorate at age 62. Not too many people can say that. It can be done, but it does take focus and dedication. So, get the word impossible out of your vocabulary.
Brian, that's a great story. And again, as you mentioned there, I work with a lot of different job seekers at different stages of their career. And one of the biggest things I hear holding them back is not the opportunities that lay before them, but their attitude about how to best approach those. So it's important that a story such as yours get out there to say it really is your attitude.
That's exactly right. It takes faith. Faith doesn't make it easier. Faith makes it possible to achieve your goals. Now, you do need a faith in a higher power. You need faith in yourself as well. Things that excite and move you are not random. I've heard you say that before on your podcast. They are connected to your purpose. That's why they excite you, because they are not random. They are connected. And someday you'll laugh at all the things you let bother you. But everything you can imagine can happen. But if you're going to embark on a journey in life, you have to do it with focus and determination. Seize the day. We've all heard that phrase, carpe diem. And that philosophy of life is really about living your best life, getting the most out of the gifts that life and the universe gives you. Now, I believe that all gifts come from above, from our Creator, and I appreciate all the gifts I've been given. So I say to everyone out there listening, be filled with gratefulness and thankfulness.
Very, very, very good points. Brian, I want to transition a little bit. A fair number of my listeners and a fair number of the candidates and so on that I work with are transitioning from college environment or an academic school environment to the workplace. What are a couple of things that you would pass on to those individuals from your experience, having made that transition a couple of times, that has led to...
For one thing, you have to embrace technology. Now, technology has really expanded and improved. In 1986, when I graduated with my first degree, there were no cell phones. No one had ever heard of the internet. All charting documentation was done with paper and ink. It's hard to believe now. It was quite tedious and subject to mistakes. There was no electronic health record. There was no PowerPoint. No GPS, no Word documents when I started in 1986. So the 21st century, it even advanced even further. There's Zoom, there's online education is really taken off, which allows people to really gain valuable training and advance their career. So I would say embrace technology and don't say I can't change, because I had to change. My career and really, essentially, my life depended on it. So I had to take those risks, and I had to change.
In other words, the only constant is change. Yeah, exactly. Brian, what final words of advice would you give to someone thinking about or making a job transition similar or to the same?
Well, number one, you can do anything in life if you believe. Why would the universe put it in your heart to begin with if it wasn't meant to be? But once you make that decision, you have to trust it. And you have to remember that you can't chase the money. Follow your bliss. A satisfied life is better than a successful life. And maybe I better say that again, Kyle. A satisfied life is better than a successful life. How do we even determine what is success? It's how satisfied you are. And in the final analysis, we have to realize that a successful life is measured by others. A satisfying life is measured by you.
Brian, tremendous points that you've shared with our listeners today. I want to thank you for joining us, being a part of this discussion today. You've added a lot of great information, a lot of great guidance and things to think about for our audience. Before we wrap it up, I know you have a podcast. I want to allow you a few moments to pitch to our audience.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. Yes, I do a podcast. I've done 5 so far. They're on Spotify. They're free. And the title of it is Smart Lawyers Love Dumb Nurses. But it can be for anyone, whether you're in the healthcare field or not. I wanted something that was going to grab your attention, almost grab you by the throat per se. But I welcome you to come in, listen in. I do include my faith in a lot of these points that I make. But it's about how to have a positivity in your life and the power of positive thinking and keep fighting no matter what the obstacles that can be beneficial to you. So please join. It's on Spotify. And again, Kyle, I want to thank you very sincerely for allowing me a few moments to be on your tremendous podcast, which is also helping a lot of people in the job market. Thank you once again.
Yep. Well, Brian, thank you. It's great having you on the show today. I've enjoyed the conversation that we've had. You've shared some incredibly valuable information. I'm glad you made a pitch for your podcast as well. One of the big things that we do talk about whenever I work with candidates is just that positive attitude, being resilient. You will find those opportunities, and you really hit on that with so much of what you talked about today. So again, thank you for joining us, Brian. And thank you to all of you out there listening for tuning in to another episode of the HR Kyle podcast. If you haven't done it yet, we really want you to subscribe and follow us. Please send your comments in as well. Obviously, we use that to drive the content that we provide to you each week. And until next time, take care.